So our research department decided they would vote amongst themselves on the team in each division that helped itself the most improved. We start with the Atlantic Division, and remember, it's a whole different look. The division's going back to what we were accustomed to before last season. And we see among this group, the Red Wings. Second from the bottom, they get the nod. From our research department, the additions on the left, the subtractions on the right. We'll hear Dano's opinion after we hear from the man who made the moves. Perhaps you've heard of him, Steve Yzerman.
In our position, it's difficult to get those real impact free agents. The way you can get some players on reasonable contracts is via trade, as we did with Mark Stahl last year. We do for Nick Leddy this year. So we're trying to surround our younger players with good players to help them develop a good partner for Phil Hronik. Strong goaltending. Some forwards that can complement, Dylan and all of our guys. So I just think it's important. There's a balance. We're not going to, mortgage or sell all of our assets, our draft picks off, but somewhere along the way, you kind of, balance the trying to be a little bit more competitive with rebuilding. And again, with having so many draft picks, without, selectively, we can use the odd one to try and improve our team for the short term, because I think I believe firmly there's benefit in having good players for the younger guys to play with. It can be very difficult. A bunch of young kids out there in the NHL playing games, it can beat you up after a while, and we want to be competitive.
When Stevie Y speaks, we listen. Here's the only problem I have. I never disagree with what he has to say about hockey. He's Steve Yzerman. Why does he need a pass around his neck? I need a pass to get in our building. Who in Detroit doesn't know Steve Yzerman? That's Stevie Y. Come on. Of course, he just follows the protocol. He certainly doesn't need a pass anywhere. No, with what he's done. I turn to you and I say, the researchers like the direction that this team is headed. We know it's been a rough go for the winged wheel these last several years. What do you think about the direction they're headed?
Well, if you look at teams having success in the National Hockey League, it's building from the goaltending out, and they felt getting Nedeljkovic from the Carolina Hurricanes, who had, yes, it was only one season, a shortened season at that, but some of the best numbers in the National Hockey League last year. Now, it's going to be a lot more challenging for him this year playing in front of the Detroit Red Wing defense as compared to one of the better defenses in the National Hockey League in the Carolina Hurricanes. But some goaltenders excel when they have more action, more shots on goal. So we're going to see if that's the case with Nedeljkovic. He looks like he's ready to take that next step as a top goaltender in this league. The Red Wings certainly hope so. And they also add Nick Leddy, a smooth skating defenseman who can kind of solidify their back end, one of those guys that can really transition the puck for the Red Wings. Anytime you're rebuilding like the Detroit Red Wings are, and they have a lot of good young prospects and they don't want to mortgage the farm. You heard Steve Yzerman talk about that as far as giving up top draft picks to make your team better. But look at some of these young guys. So I think their team is going to be better. A lot on the development of these guys and how they fit in and how quickly they can have an impact for their team. But make no mistake, you need those veteran guys, and that's what Steve Yzerman, the general manager of the Red Wings, is doing here. You need to insulate these young guys with some NHL pros, guys that can log a lot of minutes. And Nick Leddy's going to have even a more important role here with the Detroit Red Wings than he did with the New York Islanders, who had a real solid defense. Yes, he got a lot of ice time, but I think with the Red Wings, he's going to be playing in all situations, and they're going to need him to really help these young guys along in their rebuild. But I think the Detroit Red Wings have certainly made their team better right now. They still have a ways to go. But for me, it's all about this league. This competitive balance in this league right now is so close. Yeah, the Red Wings are a little bit down as far as in the Atlantic Division, but they're getting closer. And once these young guys continue to play better, have an impact that I'm talking about, which some of them can right now this year, then the Red Wings will compete and start to get better. And eventually, in the next few years, Yzerman's hoping that they will be, along with all the Red Wings fans, that they will be a playoff team.
We remember Mo Seider dazzling us at the World Juniors. He went on to be the SHL Defenseman of the Year.
You mentioned this team trending in the right direction. Where do you think the Wings are at this point in this quote-unquote rebuild process?
It takes a little bit of time, doesn't it? I mean, Steve Yzerman has a great track record, and anybody that knows Steve knows that he's an incredibly patient person. And when he's making deals, he just doesn't make a deal to make a deal. He takes a lot of time. But let's take a look at the top prospects here. Mo Seider, obviously he's played a year of pro hockey already in the American Hockey League. He's gone back to Europe to play during COVID. And he's ready to go. Just a big right-hander, just real calm on the ice. Lucas Raymond has got some world-class skills. I mean, an electrifying player, a playmaker. He can absolutely do it all. Simon Edmondson, a big D as well. Jonathan Berggren, same thing, Berggren. And Sebastian Cossa was a big deal at the deadline for Steve Yzerman. I always like to say, and people on social media make fun of me, I said he traded down to get, no, he traded up to get the deal. No, he traded down. Well, what I meant was he went from 23rd to down lower and put himself in a good position. Got some help from Jim Nill in Dallas. Steve wanted this goaltender. If you go to the draft and you want that goaltender or that player, you got to leave with that player. The one you're in love with. And
that's what happened with Warren Seider a couple of years ago, right?
Exactly right. Mo Seider could have gone 15th or 16th.
Yeah, they got him
but you know what? But maybe there was a couple of teams that said, well, we would have taken him 7 or 8.
And if that's your guy, get your guy.
Get your guy.
Yeah, exactly.
But if you have the ability to move down or up, I should say, up higher, then and you know that player is going to be there, well, that's also a smart move because maybe you can secure some more assets. But you're never sure what the team behind you is going to do. So I think Steve's covered, and I said this a couple of weeks ago here, I think it's filling up. I think Steve and his staff, Chris Draper does the amateur, switch from the pro to the amateur after Kenny Holland left. I think as a team, I think they're doing a really great job there in Detroit.
I know we're diving deeper into the Alex Nedeljkovic goalie talk a little bit later in the show, but again, another big acquisition this offseason. You get a young, proven goaltender at a great price. And what do you make as far as stability between the pipes there in Motown?
Well, I like the competitiveness of Nedeljkovic, and the goalie coaches and all the information that Steve got was that even though he's not overly big, as we take a look at the additions and subtractions, what Nedeljkovic is competitive. He's got great work ethic. Families, that's what they're all about. That's what he's all about. And he makes up for that lack of size. It's hard. I can't believe I'm saying that 6 feet isn't very big, but I guess I've got to say it.
Is he a little guy with gumption?
Well, he's a 6 foot guy with gumption. But I like in it. It's obviously been a small sample size.
Yeah.
But everything he's done from the American Hockey League, and what I mean everything he's done, for anybody out there that has had to spend 1 year, 2 years, 3 years, 4 years in the American Hockey League, know what it takes? It takes something special. It takes some self-motivation. You look around, sometimes you think nobody's watching you. And it'd be easy to say, you know what, maybe there's something else something else out there. But to have that motivation, to stay hungry, to work hard, and to get to that spot that Nedeljkovic did, I think this is another terrific move for Steve. It puts a real competitive guy in his net to go along with Thomas Greisch, who, by the way, the last 17 games of the regular season last year, Thomas Greisch was at a .936 save percentage. He stopped almost 94% of the shots in his last 17 games. So I think this is going to be a terrific tandem.
All right, we'll have to see how it plays out in Detroit.
There's no more treasured name in the history of the wing wheel than Steve Yzerman. The GM, who won GM of the Year when he was with the Bolts, made these off-season additions. Let's hear what Stevie Y had to say today.
They got a lot to play for, and to have a good training camp and to have a good preseason, and then ultimately, once the regular season starts, to either hold their role or maintain their role or play an increased role. I think that's good for us. I think it shows some progress. I hope our record is better than last year, but truthfully, time will tell, and there are some changes. But I am looking forward to watching some of the the new faces, obviously all the new faces, and see how the players within our organization that have been here respond to the opportunity to get a bigger role. And to compete with some of the younger players or the new faces for those spots.
What do you think of Detroit this year?
They're trying to improve. They're not yet going to be good. And you saw something like Nedeljkovic will help them in net. I think Nick Leddy on the back end will really add some stability. But they're not there yet. They're still stripping it down and building it back up. And while you can try to add veteran players to get better in the short term. If you want to really be competitive, you have to build through the draft. You have to take your tough finishes, draft really well, and grow with those guys. And I think starting with Larkin and Vrana, those guys will both be really good players. Larkin's very underrated. But really, I think what matters more is what the 4 guys on the right become. And we're not sure. Zadina hasn't shown it yet. Mo Seider is going to be really, really good. Watch out for him this year in the Rookie of the Year, or at least in the top rookie conversation. Lucas Raymond. Are those guys going to be ready to go yet, Tone? No. I don't think so. I don't even know if they're all going to play in the NHL. I think the Detroit Red Wings have a history of over-ripening their prospects, which has served them very well. And I don't expect Lucas Raymond to play the whole year in the NHL, even though he might be able to physically get through it. So not yet this year for Detroit. They are slowly trying to fill in the rest of their roster. You saw some of the most important pieces. Steve Yzerman wants them to be a little bit more competitive and maybe just have the young guys battling with better players for ice time. So it's maybe not you're not becoming great, but you have to be a little bit better if you want to get that power play unit. You want to get beyond the penalty kill. You want to play in the top 6. So patience will still be required. It's not easy to have patience. Everybody wants to win now, but Detroit's heading in the right direction. But they're probably still 2 or 3 years away from really threatening playoffs and becoming a good team again. And they've missed the playoffs 5 years in a row after that quarter century in every single year. You're so high on Seider. Why? Poise and and attitude. I mean, he's got all the skills. Big, can skate. He's strong, can shoot it. He's played against men now for a couple of years. The German league is a stout physical league, and I love his attitude. When he steps in against men, he gets better. He'll have to get better playing against men in the NHL this year. He signed his contract at the World Juniors on an iPad, and he was beaming. Congratulations to him. Thanks for watching NHL Tonight.